Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.
So I just read an article recently about the fact that there are many farmers, right, in the region who have the machinery and equipment to fix the roads that are on their property or nearby or whatever, and they're not able to do so. Now, I think it has to do with liability. I mean, what are the issues here? If a farmer wants to fix his road, why can't he do that?
Yeah, it is an interesting one. And obviously we're talking about public roads here. So obviously farmers on their own farms can do whatever they need to do on that work in terms of roads and their property. But what we are talking about here is public roads. And we actually, the issue's been bubbling away for some time. And so we as a council group, as councillors and senior staff, actually had a meeting in November last year with our insurers and our solicitors to see if there was some way we could come to some sort of solution here, because exactly the articles that you're reading now, those discussions we've been having with various people across our local government area, where not just farmers, but people are saying they've got the ability to fix some roads, they've got the ability to go and do some work on the roads, they want to do some work on the roads to make it better for accessing their property, their houses, but these are public roads we're talking about. The big issue that we discussed with our insurers and our solicitors is that if work is done by anyone else apart from the actual council or contractors for council, then the quality of the work needs to be at a level that would be the same as council or our contractors would do. And then you've got to go and have someone supervising that work to make sure it's done to the same level. Because if someone does some work on a road and then an accident occurs and someone wants to sue council, then we can't very well just point to the farmer and say, well, we didn't do the work, the farmer did the work, so go and sue him, obviously, or sue him or her. So obviously the issue there becomes, as you said before, about liability and making sure the work is done at the appropriate standard. Councillors as a group actually said to our senior staff and the insurers and the solicitors, surely there is a solution here if we all want to get the same solution in terms of allowing other people to do work on our road network to a standard that's the appropriate standard without exposing council and without exposing residents to potentially being sued. Surely there's a solution here. Can we all please go away and try and work out a solution? So we've been working on that with our insurers, with our solicitors for the last couple of months. We haven't been able to come up with an appropriate solution yet. It might be something like having farmers that might want to do that work on those roads going and being approved under a certain course, doing certain training, which again sounds like an impost of time on those people who just want to do the right thing. But again, to protect everyone from a liability perspective, it might need something like that. So it is a complicated area, getting the work done to the appropriate standard, getting the work done to make insurers, to make solicitors happy with that. That's the challenge that we have. But we have been working on that solution and we haven't given up yet.
Okay, well, it sounds like there is something happening, so that's good. Now, another proposal I believe that Sam Farraway put forward was that farmers could potentially get set up as contractors. And so then if they're accredited by a council as a contractor, then they might be able to be Would that work? Is that a possible way forward?
And that's one of the solutions that we certainly talked about. The idea of doing some sort of training, doing some sort of certification, registering that organisation, that farming organisation as a contractor, they're the sort of solutions that we're talking about. What Sam Farraway is talking about is similar along those lines. So if we have a contractor that's got all the appropriate certifications and the appropriate training and the skills and the equipment, etc., if that contractor can do work on our roads, then if a farmer was a contractor, in inverted commas, going through all those same processes, that would be appropriate. It also comes down to the equipment they're using. So a contractor has got a company set up, they've got their work health and safety processes in place, their equipment is of the correct standard, so that, for example, if they're driving along with a grader and a wheel falls off that grader and then goes and runs into a car that's sitting there waiting at an intersection, then, and again, I'm taking an extreme example there, but there's appropriate processes that contractor would have in place around the maintenance of their equipment and maintaining that. But sometimes a farmer might pull out that bit of equipment once every now and again, and so have they maintained that at the proper standard? So there are these things to consider. in Australia, we tend to err on the side of safety. We tend to err on the side of making sure that the processes in place are keeping residents safe. Some people say we go too far, even with our WH&S protocols. But again, we are very focused on making sure that people can go out and do what they do in a normal day and expect to be able to come home not injured, not dead.
Fair enough. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
I think that covers all the processes we're looking at. And again, we are working on it. We don't have a perfect solution yet, but we're still trying to work out a way that we can deliver what the community wants and being able to do some of that work themselves.
Excellent. Now, just briefly, we've had quite a few sporting events in the region recently. We had the major swimming meet. We had a huge athletics carnival. We've got a big touch competition coming up at the end of the month. Is Dubbo becoming a regional sporting hub?
No, Dubbo has always been a regional sporting hub. I think we've had a lot of sporting events over a lot of years. The cricket, for example, when I was down, I got to toss the coin at the beginning of the under-14 state cricket challenge. There was under-14 boys here and under-15 girls that were here. And talking to Cricket New South Wales there, we were just having the discussion, and we think it was probably 11 years that they've been here for that particular tournament. I know back before Christmas, there was another underage cricket tournament that's been here for a number of years. I talked to the Cricket New South Wales representatives there, and they were saying somewhere around a decade that's been coming here for. So we have had major events. We've had major touch footy events before, never as big as this one we've got coming up at the end of February. But again, I think we have been very good at attracting a range of sporting events, and that injects lots of people into the community and lots of money into the economy when those events are on. And we have focused on some of those various facilities. When you look at, say, our cricket pitches, our soccer ovals, our touch footy ovals, all of those different events, we've got the infrastructure there, we've got the ability to hold these large events. And what some of these organisers love about it is that those events can be held in close proximity. So when you've got those major events on, parents and officials and even the players themselves can move among those various ovals very easily. It's not a long journey to go from one particular event or one oval to another one. So it makes it very easy and convenient to contain all those events in close proximity. So they often talk about how much better that is than, say, Sydney, where you'd have to travel a long time to get from oval to oval.
Oh, that's a very good point. Never thought about that. Is there anything else you want to add on that?
Well, there is something that's important, I suppose, from the community's perspective. When we go out and try and get these events, sometimes some of those organisations want some injection of funds from council, and we try and avoid that wherever possible. But we do try and make it as easy as possible for those events to come. We try and help them with the organisation, the running of those events, whatever they might need to help them out. So there is a small cost to the community when those events do come. But on the flip side of that, the approximation that we use is that every person that stays in Dubbo for one night injects approximately $208 into the community. So when you get some of those larger events, the athletics that you talked about, the swimming event, those cricket events, each one of those events injected in the order of $500,000 into our economy using that multiplier for the number of people, the number of nights they might have stayed, for example. So it is quite significant to our economy when you've got lots of those events coming along. So even though, and again, it's that fine line, we don't see the money come back into council's bank account, but the community sees it. So we've got to get that fine line of where we can attract those events without it costing council too much money, but the overall community gains some of those financial benefits, plus helping put Dubbo on the map for a whole range of reasons. When people come along to these events, they start talking about Dubbo in those very positive terms.
Excellent. That is a very good point, and thank you for those statistics. Thank you so much for chatting to me, Matthew.
Always my pleasure, Sam.
Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.